Welcome to the Brit Tales. Here, English comes alive through stories that are engaging, modern, and filled with lessons you can use every day. Each tale is more than just entertainment. It's a journey into real life. You'll discover the value of saving for something important, face the challenge of balancing fun and responsibility, and pick up useful money vocabulary in natural, everyday situations. As you listen, you'll practice British English pronunciation, train your ear with authentic accents, and enjoy the rhythm of the language in story form. With subtitles to guide you, you'll build confidence step by step, while still being carried along by the plot. And most importantly, you'll see how small habits, repeated daily, can grow into big achievements. At the Brit Tales, we believe learning should feel inspiring, memorable, and fun. So settle in, follow the stories, and let your English journey begin. When we think about money, it often feels like something that comes and goes very quickly. One moment it is in our pocket, and the next it has disappeared, often spent on things that bring us only a short burst of happiness. But when we stop and reflect, we begin to see that money, even in small amounts, has the power to shape our future and open doors to experiences we truly value. Saving money is not just about having coins in a jar or numbers in a bank account. It is about giving ourselves the freedom to say yes to something important, something that matters deeply in our lives. Imagine what it feels like to want something so meaningful, something that could change your life or give you memories that will last forever. At first, the goal might seem far away, almost impossible. The cost looks high, and the temptation to give up is always there. Yet every small decision we make can bring us closer. Each time we choose to hold back from spending on things that don't matter, each time we decide to put just a little aside, we are building a bridge between our present and that special goal waiting in the future. Saving is not just about numbers. It is about learning to value patience, discipline, and the vision of something bigger than the moment we are in. There is something powerful about watching savings grow slowly. At first, it may look like nothing, just a small amount, hardly worth noticing, but little by little, week by week, it starts to change. The habit begins to take shape, and the excitement grows as we realize that we are in control. Instead of money slipping through our fingers, it begins to work for us. It becomes a partner, a silent promise that if we stay focused, we will reach the destination we dream of. And when that day finally arrives, when we hold enough to make the dream possible, there is a pride that cannot be bought. It is not only about the money collected, but about the strength and discipline built along the way. Saving for something important also teaches us to see value differently. Things that once seemed attractive, a quick snack, a new gadget, a night out, suddenly don't shine as brightly as the goal we are working towards. We begin to ask ourselves, do I really need this, or is it better to wait? That simple question changes everything. It shifts our thinking from short-term pleasure to long-term reward. We discover that saying no today can mean saying yes to something far greater tomorrow, and in that lesson lies real maturity. What makes the journey even more meaningful is that it shows us how strong we really are. It is easy to give in to habits, to follow the crowd, to spend because others are spending. It takes real courage to step back and remind ourselves of the bigger picture. Every time we resist, every time we choose to save, we prove to ourselves that our dreams are worth more than the temporary distractions around us. That kind of discipline doesn't just help with money, it strengthens every part of life, from studies and work to relationships and health. And so, the journey to save for something important becomes more than just a financial task. It becomes a lesson in character, in vision, and in self-control. It reminds us that the most valuable things in life are not always the easiest to achieve, but they are always worth the effort. And when the day comes when the goal is reached, the joy is doubled, not only because of what has been achieved, but because of the journey taken to get there. That is the true value of saving for something important. Life often feels like a constant tug-of war between the things we enjoy in the moment and the things we know we should be doing for our future. On one side, there is the thrill of fun, the laughter with friends, the nights out, the treats that bring a smile, the freedom to say yes without thinking too much. On the other side, there is responsibility, the bills, the budgets, the goals we have set for ourselves, the understanding that choices today affect the opportunities of tomorrow. Balancing these two forces is never easy, yet it is one of the most important lessons we can learn if we want both happiness now and security later. There is nothing wrong with fun. In fact, joy and relaxation are essential to a good life. Moments of celebration, shared experiences, and even simple pleasures give us energy and keep us motivated. Without them, life would feel empty and heavy. But when fun becomes the center of every decision, when it begins to control the way money and time are spent, it starts to take something away. The short bursts of happiness fade quickly, while the consequences of neglected responsibility last much longer. That is when fun, instead of adding value, begins to create problems. Responsibility, on the other hand, can sometimes feel boring, strict, and even unfair. No one enjoys saying no to something tempting or delaying gratification for the sake of a future goal. But hidden within responsibility is freedom. Paying attention to our choices, setting limits, and keeping track of money or time may feel like hard work, but it gives us the ability to dream bigger. When responsibility is ignored, fun is short-lived. When responsibility is respected, fun becomes richer because it does not carry regret afterward. The real challenge lies in finding a balance where fun and responsibility can coexist. It is not about choosing one and abandoning the other. It is about learning when to say yes and when to say no, when to enjoy the moment and when to hold back. Imagine setting aside a budget for enjoyment while also keeping money safe for future needs. That way, the joy of fun is still there, but it does not destroy the progress toward a goal. It is a system that allows laughter today and security tomorrow, without the two fighting against each other. This balance also teaches us self-awareness. Every decision becomes a question: is this moment of fun worth the cost it carries? Sometimes the answer will be yes, because memories and experiences matter. Other times, the answer will be no, because the bigger picture is more important. Learning to answer honestly, without guilt and without pressure from others, is what true maturity looks like. It means we are no longer just reacting to what feels good, but choosing wisely with both present and future in mind. What makes the struggle worthwhile is the sense of pride that comes from getting it right. Knowing that we enjoyed ourselves without losing sight of our responsibilities brings peace of mind. It shows that life does not have to be an endless sacrifice, nor an endless party. It can be a blend of both. Fun gives us joy, responsibility gives us direction, and together they give us balance. The challenge of balancing fun and responsibility will always be there, but it is in facing that challenge that we discover how to live fully without losing control of what matters most. When we learn a new language, it is not just about memorizing grammar rules or repeating phrases from a book. The real progress comes when we see how the words are used in situations that feel alive, familiar, and meaningful. Money vocabulary is a perfect example of this. We may already know simple words like cash, bank, or card, But when we put these words into the real-life context of saving, budgeting, or planning for the future, they take on a deeper meaning. Suddenly, the vocabulary is not just part of a lesson. It becomes part of everyday life, something we can use to make real decisions and understand the world around us. Think about the phrase "to burn a hole in your pocket." On paper, it might sound strange or even confusing. But when we connect it with the feeling of having money and being unable to resist spending it, the phrase suddenly makes sense. It becomes more than just an expression. It becomes a description of an experience we all recognize. The same happens with words like budget. In theory, it is simply a plan for money, but in practice, it is the tool that helps someone balance fun and responsibility, guiding how much to spend on small pleasures and how much to save for something important. Each new word is like a key unlocking a way to express what we already feel or need to do in our daily lives. Real life context also makes the learning unforgettable. If we only read that to set money aside means to save, we might remember it for a short time. But if we picture someone putting a small amount into an envelope each week, saving slowly for a dream trip or a new opportunity, the phrase becomes alive. We don't just know the meaning. We understand it, we can feel it, and we can imagine ourselves using it. This is the power of learning vocabulary through stories and experiences rather than lists. The words become part of us. Another important aspect is how vocabulary reflects culture. In British English, words like student loan, provisional driving license, or bank balance are not only terms, they are part of the daily reality for many people. Learning them in context shows how life is structured, what challenges people face, and what systems exist in that society. It is more than language, it is a window into how people live, what they value, and what they struggle with. This makes the learning richer because every word carries not just meaning but also a story about real life. And let us not forget the confidence that comes with mastering these expressions. Imagine being in a conversation about money, travel, or plans for the future and being able to use words like finances, insurance, or account naturally without hesitation. It feels empowering because it shows that the language is not staying in the classroom or in a textbook. It is coming into our world, helping us explain our thoughts and connect with others. This confidence builds slowly, but each word we learn in a real context brings us one step closer to fluency. Discovering useful English money vocabulary in real life context is not just about learning words. It is about learning how to live in the language, how to think in it, and how to use it as a tool to express the choices and challenges of everyday life. That is when language learning truly becomes meaningful. Listening is one of the most powerful skills in language learning, because it trains the ear to hear sounds, rhythms, and patterns that are different from our own. When we listen carefully, we begin to notice how words are linked together, how intonation rises and falls, and how meaning is carried not only by vocabulary, but also by tone and emphasis. Pronunciation grows naturally from this practice because the more we hear, the more our mouths learn to copy those sounds. It is like music. Before we play, we must first listen, and the more we listen, the better we can perform. Stories are one of the best ways to practice listening. They are not just lists of words or isolated sentences, but connected moments that flow from one idea to the next. This makes them easier to follow, even when some words are new or unfamiliar. Our brains are wired to enjoy stories, to expect what comes next, and this natural curiosity helps us stay focused. As we listen, we do not only pick up vocabulary, we also begin to feel the natural speed of British English, the pauses that give meaning, and the melody that makes it sound alive. What makes stories even more valuable is the way they connect learning to imagination. When we listen to someone tell a story, we picture the scenes in our minds, almost like a film playing silently in the background. Each voice, each sentence, creates an image, and this combination of sound and imagination makes the language unforgettable. We are not just hearing English, we are experiencing it. That experience leaves an impression that stays much longer than any memorized rule. Pronunciation, too, becomes easier through stories. Instead of repeating single words without context, we hear them in sentences surrounded by other sounds. We notice how British English speakers often link words together, how certain sounds disappear or change when spoken quickly, and how stress on different syllables changes the meaning of a word. Listening to a story with attention allows us to absorb these patterns naturally. Then, when we try to speak, we already have a clear model in our minds, making our speech more fluid and confident. Subtitles make this practice even stronger. They allow us to see the words while hearing them, connecting sound to spelling. For learners, this is like having a guide. The eyes confirm what the ears are catching, and slowly the gap between the two disappears. At first, we may rely heavily on the subtitles, but as our listening improves, we find ourselves glancing less and trusting our ears more. This is how progress is made step by step until understanding becomes effortless. Another benefit of practicing through stories is exposure to natural rhythm. In British English, the rhythm is not just about speed. It is about which words are stressed and which are softer. Listening to this carefully helps us speak with more natural flow, avoiding the stiff, mechanical sound that often comes from learning only from books. It is almost like learning to dance by watching someone else move. First we observe, then we copy, and finally we find our own style within the rhythm. The beauty of practicing listening and pronunciation through stories is that it never feels like hard work. We enjoy the plot, we connect with the characters, and we become curious about what will happen next. At the same time, without even noticing, we are training our ears, our mouths, and our memory. Every sentence brings us closer to fluency, not through pressure, but through enjoyment. That is why learning with stories is one of the most effective and natural ways to grow in English. Big goals often look overwhelming at first. They sit on the horizon like mountains, so tall and distant that we wonder if we will ever reach the top. The thought of saving a large amount of money, mastering a language, or preparing for a life-changing opportunity can feel intimidating. But what many people overlook is that the path to those big goals is made up of small, repeated actions, habits that might feel almost too simple in the moment, but over time create real transformation. A single coin saved may seem meaningless, but when added to another and then another, it begins to grow into something significant. The same is true for every habit. Skipping a small expense once doesn't make someone wealthy, but choosing consistently to spend wisely does. Practicing a few new words of English one day won't make someone fluent, but repeating that practice every day builds fluency step by step. The secret is not in one grand action, but in steady effort that becomes part of daily life. Small habits are powerful because they are easy to do and easy to repeat. They do not require huge sacrifices, but they slowly reshape the way we think and behave. For example, writing down every expense may take only a minute, but it makes us more aware of how money flows. Placing a small amount aside each week may feel unimportant at first, yet when we look back after months, the total surprises us. These little actions send a message to ourselves: I am serious about my goal and I am moving toward it, even if the steps feel tiny. Another reason small habits work is that they create momentum. Success builds on success. When we see even a little progress, it motivates us to keep going. Each habit is like laying one brick. One brick alone is nothing, but day after day, brick by brick, a wall rises. The strength of the wall does not come from speed or force. It comes from consistency. The same principle applies to building savings, learning skills, or improving our lives. The more consistent we are, the more unstoppable the progress becomes. Habits also teach discipline without feeling heavy. If we only focus on the final goal, we might feel discouraged by how far away it seems. But if we focus on the habit, the daily action, the goal takes care of itself. It shifts our attention from something far in the future to something achievable today. Instead of saying, "I need a large amount of money," we say, "I will save this small amount now." Instead of saying, "I must speak perfect English," we say, "I will listen to this story today." The goal stays in sight, but the habit keeps us grounded in action. Over time, these small habits change more than our results. They change our identity. We begin to see ourselves differently. Someone who saves regularly starts to feel like a saver, someone who keeps promises to themselves. Someone who practices English daily begins to see themselves as a confident speaker, not just a learner. Identity is powerful because when we believe in the person we are becoming, it becomes easier to stay on the path. The truth is that big goals are nothing more than small habits repeated many times with patience and persistence. Each habit is a seed, and with care, those seeds grow into achievements that once seemed unreachable. That is how small actions build into something extraordinary. Confidence in learning a language often comes not from knowing every single word, but from feeling that we can understand enough to follow along without fear. That is where subtitles become such a powerful tool. They act as a bridge between listening and reading, giving us the chance to connect sound with text, meaning with context. At first, we may lean on them heavily, our eyes moving quickly across each line as we try to match what we hear. But little by little, something begins to change. The sounds become clearer, the rhythm becomes familiar, and we notice that we are glancing at the subtitles less often. This slow shift builds a kind of confidence that is hard to gain from textbooks alone. The beauty of using subtitles with a story is that it never feels like hard study. Instead, we are carried along by the plot, curious about what will happen next, invested in the characters, and entertained by the events. Because our focus is on the story itself, the language learning happens almost without effort. We are listening, reading, and learning at the same time, and it feels natural. When we hear a new phrase and then immediately see it written, it sticks more deeply in our memory. The next time we hear it, the recognition is instant, and suddenly we find ourselves able to use it. This process also takes away the fear of missing something. Without subtitles, learners often feel frustrated when they cannot catch every single word. They may lose focus or even give up. With subtitles, there is no need to panic because the support is always there. We can check quickly, confirm what we thought we heard, and then continue listening with confidence. That reassurance allows us to relax, and when we are relaxed, we learn better. Confidence grows from knowing that even if we don't understand everything perfectly, we can still follow the story and enjoy it. Subtitles also train the eye and the ear to work together. When we hear a word and see its spelling at the same time, we understand not just how it sounds, but how it is built. This makes pronunciation practice easier because we can connect the sound to the letters. It also helps us recognize words in future readings, reinforcing the learning from multiple angles. Over time, this repeated exposure makes vocabulary feel more familiar, less like something memorized and more like something truly owned. Another strength of subtitles is the sense of achievement they give. At first, we may need them constantly, but after a while, we notice ourselves reading less, relying more on listening. That moment is powerful. It shows progress, and progress is what builds confidence. Every time we realize we are understanding more without help, we feel stronger and more capable. The subtitles become less of a crutch and more of a safety net, always there if needed, but no longer necessary for every step. Most importantly, subtitles make stories accessible. They ensure that learners of different levels can still enjoy the same tale, each at their own pace. Instead of feeling excluded or left behind, everyone can take part. This inclusivity is motivating because it means no matter where we are in our learning journey, we can share in the experience. And sharing in an engaging tale makes the language feel alive, not like a school exercise, but like part of life. That is the power of building confidence with subtitles while enjoying an engaging tale. Thank you for joining the Brit Tales today. Through this story, we've explored the value of saving for something meaningful, the challenge of balancing fun with responsibility, and the way money vocabulary comes alive in real life situations. We've practiced British English listening and pronunciation, discovered how small habits grow into big goals, and built confidence with subtitles while enjoying an engaging tale. Every step you take in learning is a step toward greater fluency, and these stories are here to guide you along the way. Remember, progress doesn't come from rushing. It comes from listening, practicing, and repeating the small things that truly matter. Keep returning to these tales, let the words settle in, and trust that your English is improving with every moment. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and let your language journey continue with confidence and joy.